Susan there?
Hello?
Hi, Susan. We're trying to...
All right, we are going to attempt to start our regular meeting of Los Angeles City Council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee. It's October 15th, 2020. I will begin our proceedings by asking Mr. Mejia to call the roll.
Yes, Councilman. Councilmember Harris Dawson as chair.
Present.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Present.
Councilmember Karen Price. Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo. Councilmember John Lee.
Present.
We have a quorum. We have 3 members.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Mejia. We've got a heavy agenda today, and we've also got, I think we had a competing event. So we're going to try to move as expeditiously as possible. As we begin the plum meeting, we'll first hear from the planning staff and committee members on any amendments to agenda items or additional requests for continuances. We will then hear from applicants and appellants on agenda items, and subsequently open public comment for 60 minutes for items on the agenda. Once public comment is closed, we will deliberate on the items on the agenda. We've called the roll already. I guess I'll ask now for our Department of City Planning or Council District staffs. Do we have any amendments or requests for continuances?
Yes, this is Jamie Ball from Councilmember Wesson's office, CD10. I have a request from the council office. We'd like to continue item 12, please.
All right. There's a request to continue item 12. Any others from Department of City Planning?
Since Department of City Planning, nothing to report at this time.
All right.
Councilmember?
Yes.
This is Emma Howard from Council District 4. We were going to request to continue item 6.
Okay.
And I believe your staff has concurred that an appropriate date might be October 29th to continue.
Okay. So item number 6 until October 29th. Any others?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a change to amendment to item number 11.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appeal and include condition number 9 from the CPC as originally recommended by staff. And I want to thank both parties who are involved with this for working collaboratively together to make sure that this all got handled outside.
All right. Thank you. That amendment and recommendations are on the record, so when folks make public comment, they can be availed of such. And we'll come back to you, Mr. Lee, when we come to that item on the agenda to make the formal motion at that time, including your amendment. Any others?
Mr. Chair, is item 12 continued to the next plum meeting? So would that be 1029?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. With all the amendments being read, and it looks like we've been joined by Mr. Price for the record. Council District 9 is confirmed with a wave. We will now go to items to be continued. So that's items number 1, number 6, number 12. Did I miss? Was there an additional one? Or was an additional one from 4? Okay. All right. Without objection, we'll continue those items. Hearing none, that'll be the order. We also have a number of items that I'm recommending, the chair is recommending that we take on consent. Those are items 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you believe that we need to, Mr. Mejia, we should read those into the record. If not,
yes.
We should? Okay.
Items 2, Councilman, this is a report from City Planning. It's a correction ordinance. Basically, the ordinance forgot to include the T and Q suffixes, and those need to be included. Item 3 is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission relative to the inclusion of the Isherwood residence as a historic cultural monument. Item 4 is a report from Building and Safety. It's requesting city attorney rather, to prepare and present an ordinance. This has to do with administrative corrections that have to be included as it relates to cool roof and cool surface requirements. And the action in number 4 would be to request city attorney to prepare and present the ordinance. And item 5 is a report from city planning, and this is requesting the execution of 21 historic property contracts known as Mills Act contracts for 2020. The action there is to adopt the report from city planning.
All right. Without objections, those items will be adopted on consent. That moves us to, we would normally do applicants and appellants now, but we're still trying to figure out the coordination and choreography of the technology there. So, Mr. Mejia, could we go to before public comment? We have item number 7 and item number 8. Could we read those? And item number 9, could we read those into the record and hear from those appointees, potential appointees?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 7 is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Adrienne Lindgren to the Central Area Planning Commission. Item 8 is again a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Yvette Lopez Ledesma to the City Planning Commission. And item number 9 is again a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Sarah Rascon to the East LA Planning Commission.
All right, so I know we have Ms. Lindgren on the line. I would love to hear from her and just have you say a little bit about yourself and what you hope to accomplish as a commissioner before we proceed.
Sure. Hi, well, thank you so much for taking some time today to both go through this process and hear from me. I'm a long-term resident of downtown Los Angeles. And by training, I'm an urban planner, and my passion has really been to live and work in Los Angeles to try and create more sustainable, equitable, and thriving communities, both in my own neighborhood and across the city. My background, I've been on multiple sides of the table. I had worked for the mayor. I've also worked in corporate partnerships and on the consulting side, and in every one of those, I really championed myself as a state and local advocate. I really believe in the communities around us, and that, especially in these times when things feel a little bit out of our hands, that you really have to look towards where you can control, where you can influence. And I'm very eager and feel very privileged to potentially have the opportunity to have a direct line to stakeholders and direct access to influencing that process of ensuring that we have equitable, safe, healthy communities for everyone who resides in them.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments from members for Ms. Lindgren? All right. I believe we also have Ms. Lopez Ledesma on the phone. I think you might be on mute. Yeah, you're definitely on mute. There you go. We still can't hear you, and you're not on mute. Can we, while we're figuring that out, can we hear from Ms. Rascon?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Can you just give us a little bit of an introduction and what you hope to accomplish as a stalwart volunteer to our commission?
Absolutely. So as you heard, my name is Sarah Rascon, and I am born and raised and from Northeast Los Angeles. So it's going to be a pleasure to be able to serve my community and the adjoining neighborhoods as well. My background, I've worked in the nonprofit, private, and now the public sector. I work for the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority. So I'm going to be delighted to bring a perspective that prioritizes multi-benefit, multi-purpose projects and really does think about and encompass the environment, especially given the dire times with climate change and what we know based on science with greenhouse gas effects, heat island effect, and so forth. So I'm going to be delighted to make communities more livable and thriving, and hope to guarantee everyone the equitable access that they deserve to first-class living arrangements and development and projects throughout the Northeast LA area.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And let's see if we have our third commission proposed appointee, Mr. Lopez Ledesma. We still can't hear you talking, but we can hear you. Well, we're gonna take it on good faith that you're a solid stand-up commissioner, and I'm gonna recommend that we adopt items 7 through 9. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Harris Dawson is chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Curran Price. Councilmember
You got to take it off mute, Mr. Baker.
Okay. Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo. And Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have a unanimous decision.
All right. That carries. Congratulations.
Councilman Price, aye.
There you go. Four votes.
4 votes, Councilman Price.
Excellent. So those items move forward. I will thank all of you for being on the call with us today, and thank you for your service to our fine city. All right. I think now we're ready for applicants and appellants and general public comment writ large. So, Mr. Mejia, if you can read our instructions for the applicants and appellants.
Yes, Councilman Harris Dawson. Appellants and their representatives and applicants and/or their representatives will be allowed to speak for a total of 3 minutes per side, unless otherwise noted by the chairman of this committee. At the discretion of the plum chair, Councilmember Harris Dawson, a total of 45 minutes has been designated for public comment on all items, and once that time comes to an end, no further public comment will be heard. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-644-6631, and then press the number sign. Press number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. During public comment, city staff will call on members of the public by the last 4 digits of their phone number. By pressing *9, callers raise their virtual hand. Once the caller hears the last 4 digits of their phone number, they will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and should be ready to speak. Once the caller is ready to speak, he or she must state their name and the item or items they are calling to speak on. Failure to do so will result in the call being muted and subsequently disconnected. Members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item only shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall state that and shall be allowed to speak for a total of 2 minutes. This concludes the comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. All right, so I will turn the floor over to staff to facilitate testimony by applicants and appellants on today's agenda. Ms. Binion.
We will now open public comment for applicants and appellants. Please be prepared to speak. After I call on your name, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Noel Wees, please press *6 to unmute yourself and begin your public comment.
Yes. Good morning. This is Noel Weiss.
Thank you. You have 3. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. 3 minutes?
Correct.
Okay. So basically beginning now. Council members, I submitted public comment in writing. Hopefully you've had a chance to review it. Basically, bottom line on this situation, we're talking about a CEQA exemption appeal for a project which is very, very highly questionable, both in terms of the processing of it. The application itself was not properly processed by planning. The owner was falsely identified. The track map itself has an owner called Urban Asset Group that's a stranger to this entire project. The actual owner of the project, as per a deed, is an LLC, but that LLC doesn't show up anywhere. So that's basically problematic. This has to go back to planning, basically, to do it properly in terms of identifying the actual owner. There could be either negligent misrepresentation or fraud relative to that. More importantly, we're talking about a circumstance here in terms of the CEQA exception situation. One, the CEQA exemption only applies, number one, if the project is in compliance with the zoning development standards. It's not in compliance because, one, we're talking about the absence of a 20-foot fire lane here. The alley itself is only 15 feet wide. It's a substandard alley. It's been there for 100 years. You're basically trying to drive a square peg into a round hole. You're eliminating 3 affordable units of residential housing for 4 luxury condo units. But at a minimum, there has to be adequate fire lane protection, and that does not exist. And they need to get a variance. That makes the exemption inapplicable. Plus, the rainwater runoff law was never considered and is not involved, and that has to go back. There are unusual circumstances here that take this out of the categorical exemption because of the unique situation where you've got commercial use on one side, you have a narrow alley, and then you've got the residential use on the other side of that alley. The traffic situation is horrendous as it is right now. 8 cars going in on a narrow alley where you don't have an adequate turnaround, where the alley services both commercial and residential use. It's just not a viable situation. That calls for some kind of CEQA workup. Now, maybe it's an MND in all likelihood, but the public has a right to participate in this, and the thing should basically be done in the context of a CEQA workup, not a CEQA exemption. So, in essence, and I think the facts as demonstrated by the configuration here of the situation represent a circumstance where there's a reasonable probability of significant environmental impacts. And under the relevant case law cited in my materials, all we got to show to rely on the exception, if you will, to the exemption is basically, number one, that there is an unusual circumstance, and planning in its workup council does not deal with these issues at all, period. Is my 3 minutes up? Was that the?
Yes, it's up.
It's up. Okay. Well, my writing stands for itself, council members. Please either continue this or send it back to planning.
Alan Quash, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself and begin your comment?
Hi, good morning, council members. My name is Alan Quach. I am the developer of the Sanborn project, and I am speaking on item 16-1095 to address the appellant's points. First being misrepresentation of ownership. T. Bales & Co. LLC is the legal owner on title. Urban Asset Group is the DBA for that LLC. Early on in the application process, Thomas Bales, who is a project partner with the sole manager of that LLC, I have since been assigned as a manager of the LLC. Anywhere on the application where there was a field of entry requesting name of applicant, either my name or a representative from my architect's office was entered because either myself or that other named individual was processing submittals at that time. On any field of entry requesting name of property owner, either the LLC holding title or the DBA being Urban Asset Group, or one of the project partners' personal names was entered. Representing the process of how ownership was represented throughout the application process is a heavy mischaracterization. Further clarification was all that was needed here. Regarding fire safety, a number of the clearance conditions listed by each city department in the determination letter are auto-generated upon submittal of a land use application, and so a lot of the parameters or language are boilerplate according to whatever the prevailing codes or standards are at that time. It is a requirement for the applicant to schedule time to connect with each individual city department to review the project early on in the planning phase to adjust the design as necessary in order to ensure compliance. We scheduled time to go in to sit down with the city fire department, and they reviewed the site plan, all elevations relative to the surroundings of the property, and they were the ones to make the determination to clear the project as designed. I also brought up the width of the alleyway to the fire department because the appellant had brought it up at that point, and we were engaged with them at that time, and they determined that emergency access to the properties was adequate and thus provided clearance for the portion of their project review. I asked the fire department for further clarification on their assessment of access just to satisfy my own curiosity, and here were a few of the bullet points they provided that were provided from the fire department. Access for fire department apparatus and personnel to the entire property would be via Sanborn and not Wick Place. Typical truck-mounted aerial ladders extend to beyond 100 feet. If for any reason a fire truck would need to travel down Wick Place, it could, because a fire truck is 8 feet wide and the newly improved alleyway would be 17.5 feet wide. And furthermore, Manzanita is not a dead-end street. Wick Place outlets onto Manzanita, which is a through street. A few additional of my own points are that the homes along Wick Place Alley are set back an additional 5 to 10 feet from the property line, so making the overall width dimension clear to the sky 22.5 feet. Furthermore, on the other side of the property, there are setbacks ranging from 15 feet to 30 feet.
That's done, Alan. Scott Munson, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself and begin your public comment?
Thank you. My name is Scott Munson, and I live in Chatsworth. I filed this appeal for myself and my neighbors, and we are appealing item number 11, Sierra Canyon Bleacher Expansion Project. Our neighborhood, Sierra Canyon Schools, and city planning all agreed that no musical bands would perform at the Friday night athletic events. This condition was included in the recommendations report published by City Planning as condition number 9. At the June Planning Commission meeting, no public comment was received about this issue. However, the Commission decided to remove the band's restriction without understanding that all parties are in agreement on this issue and have been since the inception of the fields. Since all parties are in agreement, we request that condition number 9, stating musical bands shall be prohibited from performing at extended Friday night athletic events, be reinstated into the conditions of approval. Thank you very much.
Susan Shavaranton, can you please unmute yourself by pressing *6?
Good afternoon. And this is Susan's line. However, I am obviously not Susan. My name is Edgar Kaladian, and I am with the Mayor Brown Law Firm. I am here to speak on behalf of Sierra Canyon School, which is agenda item number 11 on today's agenda. On behalf of Sierra Canyon, I want to thank the council office and the community for working with us through the process, especially Mr. Scott Munson, who just spoke. We support the appeal, and we respectfully request that the Plum Committee adds the condition of approval that the appellants have requested to be added to the conditions of approval for the CUP. Thank you for your time, and I am happy to answer any questions that the Plum Committee
Jim Childs, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Jim? Jean Frost, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Jean Frost? Please press *6. Jim or Jean?
Okay. Are we at the...
All right, members, we're going to recess for 5 minutes to see if we can track down.
Hello? Hello? Mr. Childs is available and here. We had a technical problem. Hi.
Hi, is this Ms. Frost?
Yes, and Mr. Childs, who's the appellant.
All right, it's time.
Yes, Jim Childs for the North University.
All right.
Can we start again?
Yes.
Thank you. Jim Childs for the North University Park Community Association. I am the appellant in this case. And I'm sure most of you know that the residents of South Central have fought really long and hard to rescue our community by opposing liquor licenses that are not needed and could be a negative impact. And we've done this, store by store and case by case and hearing by hearing, year after year after year. And I'm here with yet another one of those cases. To affirm the use of a categorical exemption in this case is to arbitrarily dismiss the substantial testimony and the record of the indifference displayed by the granting and ignoring of the sensitive uses surrounding the subject site. This is on Adams and Hoover, and hopefully many of you are familiar with this. The SAPC determination completely ignored the existence of substantial evidence demonstrating that an exception to a categorical exemption applies pursuant to CEQA guidelines 15300.2. The SAPC failed to consider the substantial factual record before them, but rather decided that the convenience of the students, USC students, residents across access, to beer and wine was tantamount. CEQA sets a very low threshold for permitting a categorical exemption, namely that it should not be used where there's a reasonable possibility of actively having a significant effect. The appeal by NUPCA meets this bar for the following reasons. One, the CE is not sustainable in the light of the whole record as it fails to understand and recognize this is a unique community of sensitive uses surrounding the subject site. Two, assesses impacts. The CA is not supposed to be used when there is a possibility of impacts as testimony clearly demonstrates. Three, provide the facts to assist a decision maker in understanding the significant impacts. Provide mitigations to impacts of the proliferation of alcohol outlets, the compilation of traffic excess and the egress on Adams Boulevard for adequate parking. The project creates cumulatively considerable impacts. A categorical exemption is not permitted in a case of cumulative impacts. We asked the City Council to rescind the CEQA clearance and that an MND process be started. The original, the ZA, thank you. I'm off?
Jonathan Riker, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself and begin public comment? Jonathan Riker?
The attorney is now on.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Jonathan Riker with law firm of Irvin, Cohn & Jessup, and I represent the applicant. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. As we've mentioned numerous times in our written materials and the first hearing that was conducted in January, the secret appeal was filed in June 2019 and has been canceled and continued 5 times until today. So this is nearly 17 months since the date the appeal was actually filed in June of last year. And this delay has caused a great deal of issues, caused delays in finding a new operator. The original operator of the restaurant was unable to function due to economic harm caused by the delay. And so we just want to really try to get this decided in a timely manner to prevent further harm. With regard to the merits of the categorical exemption, the claims made in the appeal regarding potentially negative impacts on the neighborhood due to alcoholic beverage consumption are totally out of scale with the scope of the CUP for on-site consumption of beer and wine only. This is an accessory service in a small 39-seat restaurant with no outside seating. It's not an application for a liquor license, as the appellant just mentioned. It's for beer and wine. This is also a use that is not a nightclub, bar, or liquor store where impacts related to noise and public safety are typically more severe. During the first appeal hearing, similar arguments were raised with respect to impacts on sensitive uses in the neighborhood. However, these unsubstantiated opinions without substantial evidence to demonstrate a link between the service of beer and wine in the project and the alleged negative impacts are not enough to raise a fair argument that the project may have a significant impact on the environment as required by CEQA. In addition, the zoning administrator and the South Area Planning Commission, in their opinions, gave substantial consideration to sensitive uses near the property, and conditions were imposed for the project to be compatible with these uses. So again, there's no substantial evidence to support that there are potentially significant impacts that could result on sensitive uses. As a result, we again, urge the Plum Committee to deny the appeal and uphold the CEQA determination. And I'm also here for any questions that you may have, and I appreciate your time again today. Thank you.
All right, I want to confirm with staff that we have not been able to track down the applicants and appellants for item number 14. Can we confirm that? Correct. All right, so we will. I'll recommend that we continue item number 14 to a date to be determined. Without objection, that'll be the order, Mr. Mejia, on item number 14. And that'll conclude our applicants and appellants for this today's agenda. So now we'll move to public comment on the remaining agenda items, well, all the agenda items and general public comment for this committee. Mr. Mejia, I believe we have some instructions there.
Those have been read into the record, Mr. Chair.
Got it. So today we're going to go for 60 minutes on public comment. I'll turn it over to staff to facilitate that process.
Okay, public comment is now open. After I call the last 4 digits of your phone number, please be prepared to speak. Please start by stating your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 9430. 9430. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself and begin your public comment.
Hi, this is Charles Carno with Unite Here Local 11. I actually wanted to speak on item number 14 in public comment. Can I still do so?
You have 1 minute, sir.
No. Great. Okay, great. And so I understand it's being continued. I would encourage the committee to oppose this project unless Measure JJJ compliance is addressed. I want to point out that the city has a habit of
I believe you're an appellant item for item 14.
Yes, but I'm not speaking on behalf of. I'm not speaking on their behalf.
Yeah, we continued this item, so it's not appropriate to speak on it today because we're not considering it today. So if you have any of the other items, 1 through 13, or other items, or general public comment, you can do that. But we're not taking comment on item 14.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering my question. Yeah. All right.
Called it on different phone.
Caller 7188.
Hello?
Caller 7188.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. I have a minute, correct?
Correct.
Okay, hi. My name is Pars Bakda. I'm the managing partner of the building that is under item number 13. I have been a part of the community for 16 years, and I operate 54 properties in the area. Our management company's team has been trained on the conditional use permit that's already been issued to us. We have it in our standard operating protocol to go over the CUP protocol items every other month with the operator that takes the space. We have a first responders and a senior citizen discount program in place as well with any operator that goes into the space. Our building's residents have been waiting for an operator to run this space for 16 months now. They keep asking us, when is our restaurant coming? They have lost faith in us and pretty much now losing faith in your decision-making process. They have expressed their support in the past. It is causing substantial harm and damages to my building's overall performance. We have lost some residents due to this and face leasing issues due to this. Tremendous financial hardship is being caused by this abuse, and I don't know who is responsible anymore at this point to move this along. Please tell me, because your silence is complicit. Please stop playing political games with my small business. There's no other reason for a nearly 16-month delay to deny a frivolous appeal that has no basis. You are hurting my company. I encourage you to make the right decision here so that we can get jobs going and open a successful community restaurant that can thrive on such a beautiful corner. Thank you for your time, Council.
Caller 1891, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 1891.
Good morning. I would like to speak on the item number 14. Can I still do that?
No, we've continued the item, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
Caller 0154. Caller 0154, can you please press star 6 to unmute yourself and state the item that you'd like to speak on?
Hi, my name is Amit Ranchal. I'm calling about item 12. I sent an email for public comment already, and I just want to tell you...
Not taking public comment for it.
Sorry?
That item has been continued. We will not be taking public comment for item 12.
Okay, thank you.
Caller 1260. 1260. Please press star 6 to unmute
Yes.
yourself.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Father Tom Carey, and I'm speaking on behalf of Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice and Unite Here, and I'm speaking to item number 14. My sisters and brothers,
we are
Hello?
taking for it.
Pardon?
That item has been continued. We are not taking public comment for item 14.
Okay. Thank you.
Caller 1506. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. (1506). Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. 1506. Please press star 6 to unmute.
Hi, my name is Diana Coronado with the Building Industry Association. I was going to make comments on item number 6, but since it's continued, I will hold my comments for October 29th. Thank you.
Caller 8074. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Caller 80.
Hello. My name is Ronald Cargill. I'm speaking on item number 13. And I'm speaking in support of the appellant. The CEQA section 15300.2C states that significant effect, a categorical exemption shall not be used for an activity where there is a reasonable possibility that the activity will have a significant effect on the environment due to unusual circumstances. And in our case, the unusual circumstances are the amount of sensitive uses surrounding this use. There's, I believe Jim Childs has addressed this issue, but I want to go over the uses, which are the Divine Providence Nursery and Kindergarten, the Order of the Company of Our Lady Nuns Facility, Hoover Park, Casa de Rosas, housing for 37 homeless single parents, Ward Villas, 120 unit senior citizen housing adjacent, and then also Children's Park directly across.
Sir, that's your time.
Thank you.
Caller 5998. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself. 5998.
Hello, as I'm on item 12 on behalf of the Neighborhood Council and our Community Impact Statement, do I get a little additional time?
No, so that item has been continued, so we're not taking public comment for...
No, it has not been continued. This is the, item number 13. Item number 13.
Oh, you mean 13. Okay, you can...
Item number 13, and as the Neighborhood Council, do we get some additional time?
Yes, you get 2 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the Empowerment Congress North Area Neighborhood Development Council. Liquor issues, even beer and wine, are very sensitive issues for decades in South Los Angeles. There is no need for a student resident housing 40 units to serve beer and wine on the first floor. It defies common sense. We also support Mr. Cargill's comments about the sensitive uses adjacent, such as Ward Villas, Casa de Rosas, Hoover Recreation Center. Also, there are outlets where people can indulge in beer and wine if they wish, immediately to the south at USC University Village, and immediately to the north in the Hoover Union Triangle businesses. There is absolutely no justification to over-proliferate a beer and wine license at this site. This truly qualifies for an exception to the exemptions because there are extremely unique circumstances, plus cumulative impacts of beer and wine license can clearly be demonstrated. What is particularly concerning is that the assembly of land on which this parcel is located was created by eminent domain through the Community Redevelopment Agency in order to put together parcels to serve the community and serve the public. Student housing, after the requirements expired over 30 years, was placed on this site, and it's fine to have an underparked student housing project on this site, but the need and the demonstrable need to serve beer and wine on what is a student housing facility clearly has not been demonstrated. And a categorical exemption is not sufficient to protect the public and protect the environment. It is a truly sensitive environment. And I urge that the appellant's appeal be supported, and we join other community members. Thank you.
Caller 9548. 9548. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? 9548.
Did 14 weeks continue to a certain date?
Caller 6534. Caller 6534.
Yes, good morning. I'm calling in regards to item 13. I would just like to comment. I have a restaurant in the area for 26 years, and I was considering opening up a location at that particular site we are discussing. Now, I understand what the lady said about the serving beer and wine for just those individuals, but what's not being understood is that restaurant isn't for those individuals. And for any individual to spend $250,000 to open up a restaurant, you need to have beer and wine to bring in other customer base, not just the students, because we cannot. No restaurant in the area can survive just with student sales. They're only there 8 months out of the year on a regular basis. So it is imperative. That's the reason I didn't take the location, because there was no beer and wine. I could not survive there without beer and wine. It's impossible. There's no restaurant nowadays that can survive with beer and wine. My location, La Taquiza, has struggled for years because we don't have beer and wine. And we've been there for 26 years. Now, a new location, without that amenity, I can't see it surviving. Therefore, like I said, that's why I didn't put in the money and investment and to open up a business, new jobs, because I couldn't be secured in the process of receiving a beer and wine license.
Thank you, sir.
That's what I want to comment. Thank you. Thank you.
Caller 6284. 6284. Please press *6 to unmute yourself and state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 6284. 6284, please press *6 to unmute. Caller 1642. 1642, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Okay. Caller 8074. Please press *6.
Yes.
Hi, can you please state your name and the item you wish to speak on?
Yes, this is Ronald Cargill. I'm speaking on item number 13.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. One of the concerns that we have is that this site is underparked. 9 parking spaces have been provided for the commercial restaurant use, and that's because the project has benefited from the enterprise zone and is parked at a ratio of 1 per 100 square feet. I'm sorry, 1 per 500 square feet. But restaurant use requires parking of 1 per 100 square feet. So a 1,550 square foot restaurant would require 16 parking spaces, but this site is only providing 9 parking spaces to serve the restaurant. So that's one of the impacts that's not been addressed under this categorical exemption. Thank you.
Caller 1506. 1506, can you please press *6, state your name and the item you wish to speak on? One 506. Caller 9548.
That's
7188. 7188. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
hello.
Hello, hi. Can you please your
Hi.
phone?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to say regarding the age, item number 13, regarding the age of the appellant, I guess, spoke on behalf of Neighborhood Council. I guess what she's saying, if I'm hearing her right, just because you're 21 or 22, age discriminatory, you can't enjoy a glass of wine. Just wanted to ask the council what they feel about that. It feels like age discrimination to me, and that's their whole basis. So by you not allowing this conditional use permit that has already been issued to me, you're pretty much admitting age discrimination. Could you clarify that for us, Councilman, when you speak, please? Thank you.
The age of the students or the seniors?
Caller 9548. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. 9548.
Hi, this is Edgar Claudian from Mayor Brown. I think I was called on earlier. I already spoke and have nothing further to say.
Oh, great. Thank you. Caller 2070. Caller 2070. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Okay. Caller 6070. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 1642. Caller 9548.
Well, you just called.
Oh, nope, sorry. You just spoke.
You can try this call and user, but they're on a private number, so.
Call in user with a private number. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Oh. Hello.
I hear you. Can you please state your name and the item you wish to speak on? Hello?
Okay.
I think they got disconnected. Caller 7188.
Hello. I got disconnected there when the administrator asked about the students or the senior citizens regarding item number 13, the conditional use permit for beer and wine. I meant the students, sir. They're generalizing by saying students, but it could be anyone that's 21 and up, and they're concerned someone of legal age cannot have a glass of beer. And I want to ask the council, isn't that age discrimination if that's their whole basis to not allow a CUP or appeal the CUP because they don't want 21-year-olds to enjoy a glass of beer or a glass of wine? Please clarify whether this is age discrimination or not and their basis, and how you feel about it.
Yeah, they're calling. Caller 9548. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Edgar Claudian, unmuted.
Oh, okay. *6070. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm speaking. My name is Roland Souza. I'm speaking regarding issue 12. I believe.
Continued. We aren't taking public comment for that item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Caller 1642. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Caller 1642. Caller 1642, you have to press *6 to unmute yourself. Caller 6284. Please press star 6 to unmute. So we have no more callers on the queue. That concludes our public comment.
All right, thank you. Thank you to everybody that called in and made comments on our various items. We apologize for any of the snafus related to technology, but we appreciate everyone's participation and input into our deliberations. I want to begin considering items with item number 15, Mr. Mejia. If we could start with item number 15, if you could read that into the record. And then we'll get Mr. Glesny and Mr. Gallardi from our various departments.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 15 is a report from City Planning. It's a draft resolution to authorize setting the per night fee for home sharing at $293 per night.
All right. We have reports from Department of City Planning or HCID. All right.
Good morning.
Yes.
Raul Mendoza from Department of City Planning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, council members. I'm here to present a brief report on the per night fee for home sharing. So as you know, with the adoption of the home sharing ordinance back in December 2018, the idea was to regulate the use of primary residence for home sharing as an accessory use. But as part of that ordinance, it also set the rates for registration for home sharing at $89 and extended home sharing at $850. The idea was always to establish that at a level that was less than full cost recovery to encourage compliance. As part of that ordinance, it also included the establishment of a per night fee with the actual rate to be adopted by resolution at a later date based on a fee study. So over the last few months, we were working with a consultant to conduct that fee study, and with the goal of basically finding additional funding to subsidize the rest of the costs for home sharing, whether it was administration or enforcement and things of that nature. So the fee study was conducted, and to summarize, we landed on a per night fee of $2.93. As I mentioned, this would cover the costs for administration, monitoring, and code enforcement, and generate revenue of about $2.2 million. That will help us pay for things such as staffing as well as the host compliance system that we're using to accept applications and help with monitoring. So the registration and renewal fees, however, are still going to be less than full cost recovery, but we're recommending leaving it at those rates, again, to encourage compliance and not raise those fees for applicants interested in registering for home sharing. So the registration and fees were presented or the per night fees presented in a resolution to be adopted by your committee and the full council, which sets the rate at $2.93 per night, but doesn't require approval of a new ordinance because the ordinance already contemplated that fee. So we're asking for your consideration of approval. Just one note, our planning report does mention an effective date of October 1st, 2020. We've transmitted an updated resolution that recommends approval out of an effective date on or after December 1st, 2020. And I'm available to answer any questions if you have any.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Do we have anything from HCID on this item? My notes show that Mr. Gallardi may be prepared to speak on the item. All right. Questions or comments from members on this item? Mr. Blumenfield.
curious how our fee compares to, I know it's cost recovery and that was baked in, but how does it compare to other cities that have similar fees? Are we in the ballpark? Are we high? Are we low?
So, as part of the fee study, we surveyed a number of cities. The Nashville one is, I think, the only comparable with a per night fee. A lot of other municipalities use a combination of the TOT and some additional percentage on there. So I think it's kind of difficult to make an apples-to-apples comparison with the other municipalities. I would say I think the $2.93 is probably a pretty reasonable number when you think about what individuals pay at, say, hotels and things like that, and taxes.
I mean, it seems that way. It's hard to know it's hard to make the apples-to-apples comparison because we have other charges as well, right?
Yeah, we have the registration initially, but for actual individuals staying at the residences, the TOT they still pay, but that's the only one in addition to the per night fee for us. Whereas other municipalities do, say, a TOT that they would do at hotels plus an additional rate on top of that. So it's just a different method of collecting, but I think eventually we ultimately land around the same place, if not cheaper.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to have some sort of comparison so we can, when we get the either complaints or the compliments about how we're running here and how we stack up. Are we charging more or less than other cities overall? I mean, it sounds like we're in the ballpark. I'm not going to push the issue, but I would love to have some sort of comparison, even though I know there are multiple factors. I still think there's a way to get an overall number of how much a renter, or a short-term renter is paying us versus other cities.
Thank you, Council Member. Yes, we can absolutely forward you some information to your staff with the comparison with the different municipalities.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. Other questions, comments? I don't see Mr. Lee, Mr. Price. Either of you. I want to just follow up on Mr. Blumenfeld's comments. Do we have a hand? Okay. It looks like we'll hear from HCID, but I want to just continue this line of questioning that Mr. Blumenfield started, because on the other side of the coin is this whole business of code enforcement, and the nature of the reason why the question that Mr. Blumenfield is putting forward is so important is we will need to be able to say we're charging about the same, more or less, with some specificity than other cities, because invariably what will happen is there will be some type of violation, and neighbors will say, hey, we had code enforcement baked into the price. Why didn't a code enforcement person come and look at this? So I wanted to hear more about what the assumptions were regarding the cost of code enforcement. Does it pay for one person per 1,000 units, 10,000 units, 100,000 units? How did it contemplate the cost of code enforcement?
So on the code enforcement piece, there's a little bit of two things. One, this does assume some level of positions for HCID and being able to pay for some of that, but I think the majority of the costs for those would be associated through their normal code enforcement fees. But I don't know if HCID is on the line that can kind of clarify that, but that was kind of the assumption as part of the fee study.
HCID is on the line, so we'll hear from HCID now.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, council members. Chief Robert Gallardi here, Code Enforcement, HCID. Thank you for this opportunity. So when we developed this home sharing ordinance, we knew Ace Citations was going to be our key first step towards enforcement of property owners who failed to register and did not comply with registration requirements. Our current philosophy or direction that we're going on this enforcement is primarily through working closely with Host Compliance, which is the vendor for city planning, to identify first and foremost property owners that fail to register. So we have a designated Assistant Inspector 3 who works through Department of City Planning to review the potential to issue citations. First, they're warning. We issue warning letters, and then ultimately citations to property owners that fail to register. In addition to that, during our normal course of work for code enforcement for housing, we do and can assist property owners or neighbors that have a situation where we have to get some boots on the ground. Primarily, this agenda item today is the functionality of issuing the Ace Citation, which we thought or envisioned as being primarily through a interface with planning to electronically issue citations. But we always did figure that there will come a time when either the Ace Citation didn't achieve what we needed to do to get compliance with properties. So we do have our core inspection staff available to address short-term renter violations on an as-needed basis.
Thank you for that. All right, any further discussion on this item? All right, I will move that we approve the resolution authorizing setting the per night fee for home sharing at $2.93 per night. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Blumenfield. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes, Councilman Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilman Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmembers Gilbert Cedillo. And Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have 4 votes, unanimous.
All right, thank you so much. I believe that takes us, thank you to the Mr. Mendoza and Mr. Gallardi on your report backs. I believe that takes us to item number 11, Mr. Mejia.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 11, this is an appeal as it relates to various land use entitlements approved by the Planning Commission, conditional use, a zoning administrator D-term, and a site plan review. And this is, and also a condition relative to musical bands, condition 9. And this relates to the athletic field at the Sierra Canyon School in CD12.
All right, I believe we have a report from Department of City Planning on this.
Yes. Hi, good morning, council members. Let me pull up my document here. Good morning, council members. My name is Claudia Rodriguez, Senior City Planner overseeing the South Valley projects. The item before you is relative to an appeal filed on City Planning Case Number 2019-627, Conditional Use, Zoning Administrator's Determination, Site Plan Review. So in short, on June 25th of this year, the City Planning Commission approved an expansion in bleacher seating for the athletic field at Sierra Canyon School. The Commission also approved shared parking as well as some grading on site. After consideration of the project and after allowing for public comment, the City Planning Commission recommended removing condition number 9 from the conditions of approval in the June 25th, 2020 recommendation report. Condition number 9 read relative to musical bands being prohibited for playing during the extended Friday athletic events. So the appeal before you is challenging the City Planning Commission letter of determination that was dated July 14th as it relates to this condition. The appellant is seeking to have the condition reinstated. As stated in our September 18th, 2020 report transmitted to this committee, staff finds that the City Planning Commission did not err in its discretion in removing condition number 9 and approving the project, and therefore recommends for the Planning and Land Use Management Committee to deny the appeal and sustain the City Planning's determination in approving the project. As you previously heard, it sounds like both the appellant and the applicant have come to an agreement, and the applicant is recommending to approve the appeal. However, the committee decides to move forward, Planning Department is ready to transmit the necessary changes to committee for council consideration. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much for that report, Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Lee, you want to kick us off on this?
Yeah, I just want to thank Sierra Canyon and the community surrounding that school for coming together and working out all the different issues that they were working on. But so what we have is item number 9 was removed, and we'd like to reinstate that. So I would like to make a motion to approve the appeal and include condition number 9 from the CPC as that was originally recommended by staff.
Excellent. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Price. Any discussion? All right, I have discussion. I just wanted to be known for the record, Mr. Lee, it is only at your urging that I would vote against live bands. So I want that to be on the record. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes, Councilmember Harris Dawson is chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo is absent. And Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have 4 votes and a unanimous decision.
Excellent. That takes us to item number 13. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you to the Department of City Planning.
Yes, Councilman. Item 13, this is a report from the South LA Area Planning Commission. It contains an appeal by James Childs as it relates to the approval of a conditional use for the sale and dispensing of beer and wine.
All right. We have a report from Department of City Planning.
Yes, good morning. Henry Chu of the Planning Department. What's before you is a CEQA appeal for a conditional use to sell and dispense beer and wine for on-site consumption within an existing 1,550 square foot restaurant. It's ancillary to the restaurant use. The project was issued a Class 5 Category 34 Categorical Exemption, which is basically for a conditional use for the on-site consumption of alcoholic beverage for W and X2. None of the exceptions for a categorical exemption apply. It's not an environmental sensitive habitat or area. There's no evidence of impact to the historical resources, and there's not an unusual circumstance. Up the block on 25th and Adams is an operation that sells alcohol for off-site consumption, and further up 0.2 miles north of the site on Union Avenue are operations that sell and dispense a full line of alcohol for on-site consumption. Staff recommends the Plum Committee deny the appeal and determine that the categorical exemption is appropriate for the subject project pursuant to Section 15300, Article 3, Section 1. Staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a report from Council District 8.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Kristen Gordon, and I serve as the Planning Deputy for Council District 8. Our office would first like to thank our stakeholders of the community for taking time today to share their testimony on this project. As stated in public comment in the appeal, due to the sensitive nature of alcohol uses and sales in the South LA Community Plan area, as well as the project site's proximity to sensitive uses, that were stated in the record, we find the categorical exemption does not adequately analyze the adverse physical impacts on the surrounding community, and therefore we would like to request the Department of City Planning to do additional environmental analysis. That concludes our comments.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item, members? Hearing none, I'll move that we grant the appeal filed by James Childs and thereby overturn the determination of the South LA APC in approving a categorical exemption for a conditional use permit to allow the sale and dispensing of beer and wine for on-site consumption for the property located at 2595 South Hoover Street, Suite B.
And in addition, Mr. Chair, as stated by Ms. Gordon, for the City Planning Department to conduct additional environmental analysis.
Exactly. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Price. Mr. Mejia, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo noted as absent, and Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have 4 votes, unanimous decision, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. And can you let us know where that leaves us on our agenda, Mr. Mejia?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you have one more item to consider, which is item 10. This is an appeal relative to a categorical exemption for the subdivision of 4 small lot homes in CD 13.
All right. We have a report from Department of City Planning on this item.
Hi, council members. Joe P. Swan, City Planning staff. Before you is a sequel appeal challenging the applicability of the Class 15 categorical exemption that was adopted for a proposed 4-unit small lot subdivision at 1119 North Sanborn Avenue. The East LA Area Planning Commission denied the initial appeal on the parcel map, and that decision is final. So the only thing before you today is the CEQA clearance. As stated in the appeal report submitted to the committee, the Class 15 categorical exemption is appropriate, given that the property's residential zoning is consistent with the general plan, the proposed project's density is consistent with the site's zoning, the subdivision is for 4 or fewer parcels, no variances or exceptions are required, all services and access is to be provided, and the parcel does not have a slope greater than 20%. In addition, the appellants have not provided a factual showing of evidence to suggest that an unusual circumstance exists at the property. As such, staff recommends that the Plum Committee recommend for council action to deny the submitted CEQA appeal and to sustain the East LA Area Planning Commission's determination based on the whole of the administrative record that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to State CEQA Guidelines Section 15315, and that there is no substantial evidence demonstrating that an exception to the categorical exemption applies. Thank you, and staff is available if you have any questions.
Thank you. All right, I believe we have testimony by a representative of Council District 13.
Good morning, council members, staff, and hearing attendees. This is Amy Ablicap, Planning Deputy for Councilmember O'Farrell of the 13th District. Our office concurs with City Attorney and staff's recommendation to deny the appeal. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
All right, any questions or comments on this item from members? Seeing none, I'll move that we deny the appeal filed by Madeline Huttenbach, Sanborn Avenue Neighbors Association, and thereby sustain the determination of the East Los Angeles APC to adopt the categorical exemption number ENV-201-5-3154-CE for the subdivision and construction of 4 small lot homes located at 1119 Sanborn Avenue. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Price. Can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes, Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson as chair.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilmember Karen Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo is absent, and Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
We have 4 votes, unanimous, Councilman.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Mr. Mejia, I believe we have item number 1, which will continue for 7 days until the next Plum meeting. With that, can you confirm that we've completed our business for today?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Items 12 and 14 have been continued. That concludes our meeting for today.
Excellent. I'm sorry. So I want to make an amendment that item 14 be continued to a date certain. That date would be 10/29, October 29th, without objection. Mr. Mejia is nodding that that's been recorded.
Yes, duly noted, Mr. Chair. I apologize. Item 12 and 14 continue to 10/29, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Thank you. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.